Today we will cover the series Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill. Let's begin. The show takes place in an ancient fantasy world where Mukoda Tsuyoshi has been summoned along with 3 other heroes to save the kingdom of Reichsager from the Demon Lord. The sorcerer informs the heroes of their exceptional abilities, but when it is revealed that Mukoda's skill is online grocery, everyone in the room bursts into laughter. Soon the group is summoned by the king, who tells them about the lurking dangers their kingdom is facing, and the 3 heroes pledge to serve the kingdom in every way possible. Mukoda decides to take his leave as his ability is of no use to their cause, so Mukoda gets compensated with gold coins. As Mukoda goes around town, he observes that people are frightened of his unusual clothing, so he decides to get a change before he can get information about his surroundings and the kingdom. Mukoda soon takes a rest in a hotel where he investigates his abilities and realizes what an awesome skill he has got, as he can summon things from his world through coins, and decides to leave the country as soon as possible. The next day, he hops on a carriage to leave for a town near the border, and while on travel, Mukoda has a chat with a fellow traveler who tells him that the kingdom is facing some inevitable dangers and might close its borders soon. As Mukoda reaches the town, he realizes that the traveler was telling the truth, as he gets more information from 2 adventurers that as the country is preparing for a war, it has suspended traveling. Mukoda decides to get help from an adventurer guild to ease his travel through the forest to get to the kingdom of Venin, where he is introduced to Werner, a C-rank adventurer, and decides to start the journey the next day. In the morning, Werner introduces his party members to Mukoda. Vincent, the swordsman, Rita the scout, Raymond the mage, and Franca the healer may leave. Soon they make a stop for lunch, and Mukoda takes the lead to prepare for it and uses his ability to get the items required to prepare lunch, as he remembers that such a stove is really expensive in this world, and he got it at a pretty cheap price because of his ability. As everyone sits to eat lunch, everyone gets astonished due to the immense flavors and appreciates Mukoda's cooking. As the group moves on, they get attacked by different monsters, and soon they can get rid of them. Mukoda offers them help by storing the meat of the monsters. Soon Mukoda prepares food with products from online grocery, and Werner's party instantly falls in love with it. Mukoda decides to check their status and realizes that his food has increased their stats all of a sudden, and realizes that his food can power up other people for a certain period, and realizes if other people will find out about it, he will be in grave danger. As the group travel, Werner tells the group that they will reach the kingdom of Venin in 2 to 3 days, and decides to camp, where Mukoda again uses his outward sauces to make dinner whose aroma startles everyone, and its taste takes them to heaven as they talk about it. Suddenly, a legendary creature named Fenrir appears from behind that frighten everyone, and asks Mukoda to make him food. Mukoda complies and makes tons of food for Fenrir that he devours instantly, and asks for seconds after he is done with the food. Fenrir asks to form a familiar contract with Mukoda that he tries to reject at first, but soon realizes that it won't be possible, and form a contract with Fenrir, who claims that he looks forward to his meals 3 times a day that startle Mukoda. Fenrir further asks Mukoda to give him a name, as he is now Mukoda familiar, but Mukoda gives him some dog names that anger Fenrir. Eventually, Mukoda gives him the name Fel, which he likes and decides to be called by it. The next day, as the Werner party travels, they talk about the legend of Fenrir, and also mention that Mukoda will be watched closely in the kingdom of Venin due to Fel's presence, which further elevates Mukoda's fears of wanting a quiet life. Suddenly, Fenrir intervenes, claiming that he will take care of everyone who comes their way, and asks Mukoda to prepare lunch. As Mukoda starts to prepare lunch, he orders Fel to find his meat, which surprises everyone, and they appreciate Mukoda for his bravery. But soon they are left speechless when Fel brings back a rock bird, a B-rank monster that even Werner's party cannot hunt. Soon Mukoda prepares the meal for Werner's party and asks Fel for patience, as he requires a huge serving. After eating their meal, they embark on their journey and reach the Venin border, where Werner takes the lead to talk with the guards about Fel. Although the guards get afraid of Fel as they watch Mukoda's relationship with it, they let them pass. As they move towards the town, Werner and his party tell Mukoda about the importance of joining a guild, which makes Mukoda tell them that he wants to travel. But as Fel will bring huge prey, Mukoda finally decides to join both the adventure and the merchant guild. As they reach the town, Mukoda is approached by a servant of a rich family and asks him to meet his master. But as the servant persists, Fel intervenes, making the servant run away. Mukoda asks Fel to be not so rude, but he claims that he can take off anybody, and only the ancient dragon is a match for his power, which startles everyone. Soon Werner's party leave them as Mukoda sign the agreement that they have fulfilled their job, and they part ways. Mukoda decides to visit the merchant guild first, where everyone stares at them, while the girl present there tells Mukoda all the rules and regulation, and also hands in his guild card. Soon they leave the guild to rest at an inn, but as the monsters are not allowed there, Fel has to stay outside, where he claims that he is hungry, and asks Mukoda to make his food. Mukata starts to prepare his food and serves him different flavors of steaks that Fel admires and asks for seconds as it goes on. The next day, Mukata visits the merchant guild to sell fine salt and pepper, but they get astonished by its fine quality and offer Mukata a hefty amount, which startles him at first, and he decides to not use this for further trade. Such a nice guy. After that, Mukata visits the Adventure Guild to register there and ask about the ranking of the jobs. Mukata finally takes a job and returns to Fel, who is already hungry and is asking for food as Fel eats his food. Mukata gets astonished by looking at his stats as he is already overpowered. The next morning, Mukata prepares to leave for his first ever mission, as Fel feels left out and asks Mukata to prepare him some food. Soon they reach the location and Fel is still agitated as he didn't get enough food. In the morning, Mukata asks him to hunt something till he finds the plants he has come to look for. Before leaving, Fel casts a protection spell over Mukata because he senses some powerful monsters around the area. Mukata uses his ability to find the plants, but soon gets plenty of them without much effort. After completing his job, Mukata decides to prepare lunch for himself and Fel, and uses the online grocery app to order spaghetti and beef meat. While Mukata is making the food, Fel gets there with a rock bird claiming that he hunted some other monsters as well but couldn't take them all at once. Mukata asks Fel to enjoy the food first, the flavors of which astonish him, and he relishes the food. Soon they finish it and reach where Fel has kept all the monsters that he hunted, which startles Mukata. The look of orcs distraught Mukata as Fel claims a lot of people like his meat. Soon Mukata puts all the monsters inside his handy item box and Fel asks him to ride him so that they can easily reach town early. But their rides turn out to be very hectic for Mukata as they reach the Adventure Guild. The girl takes a look at the plants and pays him, but Mukata also claims that he wants to sell some orcs that his family caught. The butcher takes the duo to the warehouse where he gets surprised to see the A and B ranked monsters and asks Mukata to visit him tomorrow for the rest of the meat. Before they leave, the duo decides to take the orc meat to prepare for dinner. Mukata decides to use the leftovers from the lunch to mix it with orc meat, which turns out to be delectable for Fel. But as it's an orc, Mukata reluctantly takes the first bite but instantly loves it. The next day, when they reach the butcher, he presents them with the money and the magic stones. The butcher also tells Mukata that there is a rumor that the creature with him is not Fenrir but a great wolf. That puts Mukata at ease as he can tell people that Fel is a great wolf, not Fenrir. Soon Mukata and Fel decide to leave the town and reach a location where they can camp for the night. Mukata decides to treat Fel to food from the online grocery, which makes Fel hungry. Meanwhile, Mukata decides to prepare a Japanese delicacy for the main dish, even though the size of the meat disheartens Fel. But as he eats it, he falls in love with it and asks for seconds. As they get free from the dinner, Fel tells Mukata that he is feeling overpowered and can easily take care of the ancient dragon if he was in front of him right now. Mukata uses his ability on Fel and realizes that Fel got an instant power boost due to his food that startles him, and Fel decides to go on hunting, while Mukata prepares to have a good night's sleep. During hunting, Fel is faced with countless powerful creatures, but he manages to overpower them instantly. In the morning, Mukata screams as he watches all the creatures that Fel hunted and decides not to give him the Japanese delicacy. On the journey, as they enjoy delicious food, Mukata asks Fel if he uses magical powers to hunt down monsters, and Fel claims that sometimes he does and proceeds to show his magical powers, claiming that as he was already powerful, he was blessed by the goddess for wind, Nimr. Mukata further asks Fel how can he use magic, and Fel, being a genius, claims that he just has to think about it, but when Mukata tries, he ends up embarrassing himself. Fel decides to help him and tell Mukata has to feel the magic flow through his body, and soon Mukata can produce fireballs that are not very powerful at first. Fel decides to take Mukata to hands-on training, but as Mukata is afraid of getting hurt, he refuses still. Fel takes him to a colony of goblins where Fel leaves him to fend for himself. Soon Mukata gets cornered but is still able to defeat the goblins with the help of the protective barrier that Fel cast on him, which makes him faint due to the immense use of his magic power. Later in the night, Mukata wakes up with Fel beside him, and he offers him the Goblin King's dead body for magic stones for his efforts in the field, and asks for the same Japanese delicacy that they had a few nights ago, but Mukata refuses. But as he gets up to prepare a meal, he feels lightheaded, so he orders food and sweets from the online grocery and asks Fel to enjoy it and don't complain about it. As soon as Fel eats it, he loves it and asks for 2 ends, but Mukata tells him that it will lead him to illness. Fel claims that he cannot succumb to any illness as he has been blessed by the goddess, and brags about it, makes Mukata also wish for such blessing. The next day, the duo reaches a nearby village and are stopped by guards, whom Mukata tells that Fel is a great wolf, not Fenrir, but it makes Fenrir angry as he uses telepathy to convey his feelings to Mukata. The duo enters the town and Mukauda leaves Fel at a place to look for a map so that they can travel easily, but as Mukauda visits stores and the library, he realizes that no one offers the world map. Soon he reaches Fel, who is sulking as Mukauda was late, so he decides to give him grocery food while Mukauda prepares the main dish. Fel enjoys the new flavors and compliments them. The next day, Mukauda decides to get information from a pub where he meets three adventurers who tell them that Reichsager is at war with various countries and only a few countries in the east are politically stable. Soon, they offer Mukauda a world map in exchange for a gold coin, and finally, Mukauda gets what he came for. As the adventurers leave everyone behind, Mukauda claims that he was conned, as this kind of map is easily available at the Adventurer Guild. That embarrasses Mukauda, and he decides to leave with Fel, but still feels sad about the money he lost nonetheless. Fel tells him not to worry, and the duo starts their journey toward the east as Fel thinks about the food. The goddess of wind, Niner, worries about her servant Fenrir as she watches him with a tiny human bot from her place. Meanwhile, the Mukauda reaches a lake while on top of Fel, who tells Mukauda that they are taking a detour as he is hungry and uses his lightning ability to get the fishes. Mukauda gets into the water to get the fish, but when Fel claims that he likes the flavor of a colorful fish, Mukauda takes it and realizes that it's a poisonous fish, making him throw it away. As the duo collects the fish, they start to prepare for the meal by taking in some wood and buying some useful stuff required for making delicious fish. Mukauda also comes across some chef videos that help him in cutting the fish, and he prepares 3 different types of fish dishes while he is telling Fel about how he is making them and stops him so he doesn't eat the half-cooked fish. Soon the food gets ready and both of them enjoy it as they eat it. Mukauda also takes out a canned bear and enjoys the rest of the food with it. As they get free from the dinner, a slime-like creature approaches Mukauda, who worries about it as it's only 3 days old. The slime, who is hungry, eats the trash and also suddenly tries to eat Mukauda Pan, but he stops him and offers him all the trash available there. Soon Mukauda takes a liking to it, and Fel tells Mukauda that the slime and Mukauda have formed a familiar contact as both of them shared the same feeling, and asks Mukauda to give it a name, and Mukauda decides to name it Sui. The next day, as Mukauda practices his magic powers, Fel asks him to again go for a hands-on experience, but Mukauda instantly refuses it as he remembers the goblin event. As Mukauda takes a rest after his training, he realizes that Sui didn't have a proper meal, and he has only eaten trash since he joined them, so when Fel asks Mukauda to make him some food, he also makes a portion for Sui, and all of them enjoy their evening. As they get stuffed, Mukauda watches Sui cleans the pan by getting rid of dirt only and appreciates Sui, thinking that because of him, not only his item box is free from unnecessary waste, and that he also helps him with chores. To celebrate Sui's first meal, Mukauda sets the table and serves dorayaki, which everyone eats and enjoys the sensation of soft and sweet bread. In the morning, Fenrir gets a message from the goddess of wind, Ninrur, and wakes up Mukauda to deliver her message. The message turns out to be that Ninrur will bless Mukauda, which will not only increase Mukauda's magical power, but will also save him from different ailments in return for outward sweets, and he will have to offer them once a week to continue the blessings. Mukauda decides to go for it, and offers the prayers that are instantly accepted by the goddess, and Mukauda receives her blessings. At the goddess's place, Ninrur sits and enjoys the sweet aroma of the food and ends up eating most of it. On the ground, Mukauda practices his magic, and as he gets tired, he decides to eat chocolates and think about where Fel could have gone. Soon Fel comes back and asks Mukauda to give him chocolates as well. Fel enjoys them, while Mukauda also receives a divine message from the goddess, who claims that she not only wants chocolates but also dorayaki as an offering. As of right now, chocolates are heavenly, no doubt about that. Mukauda teases the goddess as it hasn't been a week since he made the offering, but still fulfills her request. As soon as Mukauda is done with the offering, Fel asks him to get on his back as he wants to take him somewhere, but becomes hesitant when Mukauda asks about it. That's all for today. This Isekai Fantasy Anime is on a whole other level. How do you think the story is going to proceed? Where Fel wants to take Mukauda? And will Mukauda master his magical powers? Do stay tuned for the second part. Thank you so much for staying until the end. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.